Hello everybody, Resonance here, and today I have another expert game for you guys as part of my Break the Meta series for Age of Empires 2. Throughout this series, I'll be showcasing a wide variety of creative and situational strategies while evaluating how they might stack up in the current metagame. We've all seen our fair share of Galley Rushes and Knights, so today it's time for something completely different. It's time for a Tower Rush on a water map. In the comments section of episode 4, YouTube user Genizero Frank asked me if I could highlight a unique strategy on a water map. And Mr. Jaws the Boss suggested, why not try a Tower Rush with a transport ship? Now, while I don't have a replay for everything, I do actually have a great example here of when this specific type of Tower Rush can be very effective. In this expert match, Tim will be playing against RiuT in a 1v1 on the map Islands. At the far right hand side of the map, we have Tim playing as the Blue Spanish, and on the far left side of the map, we have RiuT playing as the Red Spanish. Now, what makes this replay and specific strategy so very interesting is that we all know that on a water map, which is basically any map with a large body of water that is teeming with fish, taking control of this body of water is of utmost importance, and generally we expect both players here to compete for control of the water with a Galley Rush strategy. This is something that we see almost all the time on water maps, where players will mimic each other and both go for this same very Galley Rush. The Galley Rush strategy, of course, is when each player will try and get to the feudal age pretty quickly, and then once they get there, they'll transition all of their villagers off of food and onto wood and gold, and start focusing on massing galleys for a huge full-on galley war. Why? Because, well, in the feudal age, that's obviously the age where you get access to your first warship, so that's about as early as it gets for players to start competing over control of the water. The water is so critical, because not only does it provide you with a consistent, constant source of food, and a very efficient one at that, but it also gives you so much valuable map control. It's pretty hard to destroy your opponent's town center without actually making any ships on islands. So we expect to see some docks here, and that's pretty standard. You don't really have too many other options, though, when it comes to like water maps for strategies. That's why we see galley rushing all the time. You could like fast castle age into fire ships, but generally speaking, fire ships don't do an amazing job at actually countering the galleys. Originally, water combat in Age of Empires 2 was supposed to be sort of like a triangle, like a rock, paper, scissors type deal, where fire ships would beat galleys, and then the galleys would beat demolition ships, because the galleys could, gun down the demolition ships before they get up there in time to detonate. Demolition ships would beat fire ships, because the fire ships would not be able to destroy the demolition ships before the demolition ships gets in range to blow up. Boar lure here coming out from RiuT. Notice how RiuT's using his scout to actually pull in the boar here, because he wants to make sure that he is getting as much value out of every possible second with his villagers. Rather than sending a villager to go lure his boar, by using his scout to go do it instead, that allows his villagers to spend more time gathering food. And on a map like Islands, there's scouting, you can't really do too much besides scout your own island and patrol it, right? You won't always see players on like a land map using their scout to go lure the boar in, because every little bit of health on their scout does matter, especially in those early engagements, where players like to send their scout forward with some militia or archers and whatnot. You don't want your scout to be low, and the boar will obviously do a lot of damage to it. But on a map like Islands, doesn't matter what health your scout is at, as long as you don't lose it, you just use it to patrol your own island. So yeah, I really like that from RiuT. Right off the bat, gaining just a teeny little bit of lead. Yeah, so the thing here, though, is that even though, the water combat was supposed to be sort of a triangle, it doesn't actually work that well in practice. Generally speaking, galleys beat mostly everything, and if you go for like a fast castle age into fire ships, and your opponent has enough galleys, the galleys can actually destroy the fire ships before the fire ships even get in range, and that's pretty bad. Not only that, but like during that time, like, it takes so long to get to the castle age, you're gonna be in the castle age in like the 16 to 17 minute mark, right? Your opponent will already have maybe like 10 galleys by that point, and you're just gonna be playing from behind the entire time. And also, while you're advancing to the castle age and you have no galleys, your opponent just blows up all your fishing ships. So the Galley Rush is just such a dominant strategy on water maps for that very reason. You don't have too many other options. However, you do actually have some options, and in some cases, a little bit of outside-of-the-box thinking is exactly what you need to clinch a victory. And this is where things get pretty crazy. Right off the bat, things are already looking pretty weird here. This is abnormal. Whoa, Tim, what are you doing, man? Is that 6 villagers on stone at like 9 minutes in? Exactly. That's exactly what that is. This mining camp, super abnormal. He also only has one dock. RiuT is going to start putting down more docks, presumably quite soon. I think that's why he's sending his villager over here. Ooh, yeah, wow, he actually has more than 4 fishing ships. Generally speaking, when you go for like a galley rush, you put like 4 fishing ships down, and you transfer everything away from food, and you put it onto like wood and gold, as we can see here. No foragers, nothing. They're just, 2 lumber camps. He's going to build a mining camp here soon, and this is because it's all about that galley production, and you only need like 4 fishing ships to sustain villager production and give you that constant food flow. This is about as aggressive as it gets for competing over control of the water, but sometimes you can just say fuck it and just ignore the water and just like forward your opponent, build an early transport ship, send some villagers over, and unleash hell on their economy. Sometimes the element of surprise is exactly what you need. And look at you can already see that things right now are very, very weird and non-standard for Tim. He's actually harvesting from these forage bushes, and part of the reason that he's doing this, he's going to want that fletching upgrade. He's really going to want this fletching upgrade. And we're going to see why that's so important in a moment, as here comes 2 transport ships. Now, this is pretty aggressive, by the way. I mean, 2 transport ships is, that's a lot. But considering it's a water map, when you're going for a tower rush, like, you kind of have to go all in there because you lost control of the water, and then you don't have, you have a much, much weaker economy than your opponent does. Being able to make fishing ships is like having a second town center almost in the early game, except these villas are super efficient, unless they're harvesting from shorefish, and then they're a little less so. But it's still really, really good. RiuT here is going to be our standard Galley Rush player. He's going to be doing what we see all the time here, just going for a pretty standard Galley Rush. He's got, 3 docks here. He's pretty serious about this. He wants control of that water. He wants that delicious, nutritious fish. And Tim over here doesn't like fish. He's not a fish guy. He's going to put all of his villagers inside this transport ship, send him over here with his scout. This is also why Tim didn't use his scout to go lure his boar. Because you might be thinking, like, why didn't he do that? And that's because he is the aggressor here. He's treating this like a land map. He's pretending like the water doesn't even exist. So the health on his scout really matters, as he's going to be going forward and aggressive with this. Here comes the second transport ship, loaded up with 5 villagers for a grand total of 9. Straight on the way to RiuT's base. As the galleys pour out, they will start picking off his fishing ships. You will see this coming. And thankfully, RiuT here, of course, is going to be patrolling his scout around his own island. Look how low HP this is because he lured the boar. He might actually, yeah, okay, it's going to get picked off there. That really sucks for RiuT. He's running out of vision, but thankfully he had his scout patrolling there. He saw this coming. His galleys also did, of course, check for this transport ship. He does see it. One transport ship's going to go down. The other one's going to get away. Not that that really matters. The damage is done. The villagers are on the island, and the scout is alive, and RiuT doesn't have his. Trying to do like a quick little stone wall type thing, but that he didn't actually get to finish this in time. And look at this! Look at this, guys. Tim has fletching. That's right. He built that blacksmith as he was sending these villagers over here, and that's going to be absolutely critical. Look at this extra range already coming into play. Sniping off RiuT's villagers right here. Getting a little bit of idle time on them and making building these towers a lot less efficient. One of the reasons why this is being so very effective right now is, remember guys, the Spanish build buildings 30% faster. It's like starting with treadmill crane. It's super good. It gives your opponent a lot less time to react to the tower rush. Villager does get sniped off here, and that's really, really unfortunate for our red player, as there are 2 towers up from Tim, the blue Spanish. And yeah, since he is the Spanish, he's able to build these towers so very quickly. His opponent has so much less time to react and to prepare. And having fletching here is really, really substantial, as he's going to be doing a lot more damage to his to the enemy towers than RiuT is actually doing. That 1 extra damage per shot is huge. The extra range is huge. Provides a lot more zoning. And ooh, the scout finally comes down from Tim. And yeah, we can see that even though Tim was actually shooting at this house rather than shooting at this tower at first, his tower was at lower health, but he actually still managed to, trade evenly right now and get both towers to about the same HP despite having like a 200 health deficit. That's what fletching does for you. In the meantime, RiuT has mostly cut galley production. He has picked off a lot of Tim's fishing ships, which is going to weaken Tim's economy a lot. Right now, RiuT is going to have like a definitive population advantage right now. We see about 45 to 37. That's because he has fishing ships, he has galleys, so his economy is pretty good. The good news about this situation for RiuT is that he has fishing ships, right? So his economy isn't completely in shambles. He is going to get a continuous source of food, whereas our good friend Tim over here has to transition into farms, which is unfortunate, costs him a lot of wood. But he's still rich. He's so very heavy on stone here because he's really committing to these towers. He's bringing his villagers forward. His villagers have a huge attack bonus versus towers, and he is going to try and fight this one down, as RiuT's just going to pull everything off the line and try and desperately repair this. One of the best ways to respond to your opponent's tower aggression is with your own defensive towers, but this won't work here because Tim built a blacksmith and he got fletching, so he can trade super favorably here. And look at all these villagers being pulled off the line here by RiuT. He is basically desperate at this point. He's just sending in everything. He's just, this is his last stand. He's pulling all these villagers off the line. He's trying to exploit the fact that these towers have minimum range. They can't attack things directly underneath their base. And Tim is correctly responding by putting buildings. He's building foundations of houses along the edges of his watchtower to make it so RiuT can't surround it with villagers and attack the base of it. Defensive watchtowers are the way to go in this situation, unless your opponent has fletching, and it's really, really great, really great hindsight on Tim's part here. Getting that fletching upgrade was absolutely huge. This tower is going to go down here, so good job from RiuT. He does manage to clear out these two towers, but in the meantime, Tim responding appropriately as well, and he's just shifting the tower line to the left, and he's just going to keep moving this around. And he's just gonna zone RiuT off this lumber camp again. RiuT's gonna respond by building his own tower, but he's not gonna react in time. This tower is not gonna go up before Tim's tower does. So blue watchtower up, red watchtower not up. These villagers taking so much damage, a lot of them going down. It's 50 to 45, so the population discrepancy is actually sort of evening out. And these watchtowers are so obnoxious in this case because he's being zoned off these lumber camps. Like, he not only does he get so much idle time in these villagers, they're inside the watchtower, but he also has to build a new lumber camp somewhere else, and this is devastating on his economy. He's been forced to just chop down some straggler trees, and RiuT now is putting down an emergency market. Another villager gets sniped. Oh, it's super bad. He's gonna have to pull all of these villagers a little further back, and this is again when the fletching upgrade really comes into play. RiuT does have a watchtower and a blacksmith, so he could get fletching, but instead he's opting for the castle age. That's what the emergency market is for. The market and the blacksmith. He's on his way to the castle age, and when you're getting tower rush like this, the goal is to just keep shifting your economy, moving it around, trying to restrict the mobility of your opponent's villagers, right? So you build stone walls like this, you build watchtowers like this to prevent your opponent from easily being able to build more towers. You keep shifting your economy, move from lumber camp over here to a lumber camp to the left. You restrict the mobility, you just stall, get to the castle age, build a siege workshop, get a battering ram and a mangonel, and it's GG for your opponent. Tower rush is a very all-in type strategy, and it can be really devastating when it fails. You can't let your opponent get to the castle age here, and this is really bad because RiuT is on his way to the castle age, a red Spanish player, and Tim the blue Spanish is making a huge play. He's using his transport ship to the fullest and showing us why a tower rush on a water map can be super good. Because you have a transport ship, you can't do this on land. He can use this to outmaneuver his opponent's defenses, get around these walls, get his villagers throughout RiuT's base. And he's just like, what stone walls, man? What watchtowers? I'm moving in. And I don't think that RiuT sees this tower over here. He doesn't. It's out of his line of sight. He doesn't actually have Town Watch. Town Watch here would actually get a lot of value. That's actually really funny how that works out. He doesn't actually have Town Watch, but you can tell by the line of sight on his houses is kind of low. Fletching might come in handy a lot as well, but he's trying to save his resources right now because he needs to get that siege workshop out, a couple of siege weapons, and just clear out this nasty watchtower action. This is just so good because of the Spanish being able to build the towers quicker, and it's really getting some serious value here. This is something that you have to really watch out for if you are going for a galley rush, and you have to make sure that your opponent is actually committing to galleys too. This will really backfire though if RiuT manages to build like another town center, or if he manages to get at a siege workshop. The pressure is on. Can he do it? Tim is actually on his way up to the castle age as well, and not too much substantial damage. Oh my god, whoa, okay, it looks like RiuT, my friend, I like what I see. This is fantastic. and extremely BM. He's building this castle like as close to this gold mine as humanly possible. Tim sees this, right? Yeah, of course he sees this. Yeah, I think, yeah. maybe you build it like 2 tiles back so that, you know, he doesn't see it, but Tim's like, man, I'm out of here. I don't want to mess with that castle. Which might actually be a mistake. Maybe he could have just taken all those villagers and just had a villager fight there. I'm not quite sure if that would have worked out or not. But it looks like both players here are just saying, screw it. They're pretending like there's no water at all. As far as they're concerned, this is just the blue water over here. This is just empty space, man. This is just a land map with transport ships, with submarines. And they're just building castles on each other's side. I really like this response here from RiuT because look at this. This is his main gold. Where's Tim's gold? He can't. He has to go mine his other gold mine, which is in a bad position actually. Without any gold, I don't know how Tim, our blue Spanish player, is gonna respond to this. I thought that was a counter Trush. I'm slightly disappointed. It's an outpost. It's Watchtower's little brother that does no damage. Still though, outpost great for vision. He's trying to go scout out the situation, see what his opponent is up to, and these 2 gold mines no longer safe. Without access to gold, it's going to be really hard to make conquistadors or something like that, whereas we see that Tim wants to make conquistadors. Tim, our blue Spanish player, is making them at his forward castle on the red island, but he's going to run out of gold eventually. He has a market, but you know, it's only going to last for so long. Now, another interesting thing to note here as well, RiuT is also responding appropriately again by restricting the mobility of those enemy villagers. The biggest weakness of a tower rush is that it's static offense. It can't just get up and move. That would be OP, right? No, the towers, they get to stay in the same place. So if you just back up your economy and you build like walls, then your opponent can't get to the rest of your eco. And look at all this new economy over here. It's completely safe. And I also like that RiuT has some galley stationed here on the left-hand side to catch any transport ship shenanigans so that Tim won't be able to get away with that again. Conquistadors coming out from both players, a delayed tower rush response by RiuT. The great switcheroo. Both players trying to move into the opposing islands. Some stone walls at the base here will prevent any villagers from trying to stab this one down. 3 TCs coming up from Tim. He's trying to get a huge economy right now. This is pretty risky, but again, it can absolutely pay off. It's a huge investment of resources. That's a lot of wood and stone down the drain, but when we take a look at RiuT, he's on 1 town center, right? And I don't think he has any intention of putting up any extra ones anytime soon, nor does he have that much of an eco for this. Assuming that these town centers, yeah, maybe he gets away with this. Maybe he doesn't get punished. I say that, but in the meantime, RiuT here is on a villager sniping spree, taking those conquistadors to the max. Gonna pick off this villager, or no, just gonna stay back for a little bit. In the meantime, these castles will, of course, clear out those defensive watchtowers here from RiuT, and both players here in the cripple fight of the century. Honestly, it's pretty bad. But you know, when we take a look at Tim, he's actually pulling ahead in population, despite having a smaller military, right? Because he has no galleys of his own. Actually, no, their military population is probably somewhat similar. Either way, he has all those extra town centers, which is why he's able to pull ahead a little bit in the population department. And all he has to do now is just survive. The damage has been done. RiuT has been kind of crippled. His Galley Rush really didn't pay off at all. And the Tower Rush thing works when you see your opponent really committing to the galleys. So when you scout out with your fishing ship and you see like three docks from your opponent, that means that they're going pretty heavy on the galleys, and you can definitely punish them for that with a Tower Rush, depending on the map. And being the Spanish definitely helps with that quicker building speed. Both players here trading so much eco damage, but the population discrepancy is growing. We're at 59 for RiuT, the red Spanish, and now 69 for Tim, the blue Spanish. Actually, he had a couple more villagers than that just a second ago before I swapped. Now he's just losing villagers like crazy. These conquistadors just on fire. And speaking of fire, check out these fire ships from Tim. He's making a couple of these to go clear out the remaining fishing ships from RiuT. And this, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is where the fire ships actually really shine. This is where you will see them in competitive play. In situations where your opponent has fishing ships, he has galleys, but a small number of them. Fire ships are so very strong in that case. You just go clean up the small force of stuff on the water. And God, these conquistadors over here doing so much damage. Tim's gonna try and respond with some monks to go convert those. He has to answer these conquistadors. But in the meantime, he's putting the pressure on. He's making petards, guys. No one expects the petards. And this is also the one time when petards are actually good. Normally they're a really bad unit, except when it comes to wall busting. The benefit of using petards compared to anything else is that they blow down a wall like almost instantly, like that, and that means that you can blow down your opponent's walls without giving them any time to respawn. A battering ram would give them plenty of warning, a mangonel just shooting at the walls. RiuT here didn't have time to even like build a second layer because the petard just blew it up instantly, and that's when petards are super strong. The walls are down from RiuT. The pressure is on. Both players here just losing so many villagers. Look at this pile of bodies with 3 town centers. Tim's losing population. He's actually losing pop. He does get a conversion on the Conquistador, which is great. It's just the 2-for-1 value machine. Convert a Conquistador, you kill one, and you get another one for yourself. That's why monks are super good when your opponents are making these really expensive units like knights and Conquistadors, and they don't have like too many of them. So it's absolutely fantastic. Monastery here coming out from RiuT. He's on his 2nd town center, and I say that as now he's back down to 1 as this battering ram, this pile of shredded wheat, is going to go thrust down that town center, and now RiuT is down to 1 TC. Both players looking so weak. As the time goes on, their population's only going down. Look at this, oh my god, there's so many villagers idle here. And I think these fishing ships are the nail in the coffin for RiuT. The fishing ships, the fire ships were some of the, I think probably one of the best decisions made this game. Absolutely brilliant. The fire ships will clean up all of the remaining galleys and fishing ships and do so much damage to RiuT's economy. RiuT so far has been thriving on the fact that when your opponent goes for a tower rush like this, they don't have any fishing ships because they lost them all to the galleys, so you should have a stronger economy. Not anymore, buddy. No more advantage for you. The Conquistadors are going to be cleaning up the remaining galleys on the water as well, and those fire ships paying dividends. But look at the damage. Both players here just, oh my god, their economies are so weak. Look at these idle villagers, guys. This is going to give any Age of Empires 2 player with OCD a heart attack. Look at this inefficiency right now. Both players, economies crippled to the max. They got to do something, and these monks aren't coming out fast enough. I think that Tim wins this one just because he's dying slower. At this point, it's not about winning; it's about losing as slowly as possible. It's not about winning; it's about making sure you don't lose. However, we do see that Tim is building a counter siege workshop. He's going to be building this one right now, and he's going to be building a mangonel to go deal with the enemy mangonels. I think that is the game plan here. Jesus, let's go swap to the economy. Idle villagers 26. Oh my goodness, my eyes, they're burning. Tim is panicking right now, but he's getting out some monks, he's getting out some mangonels to go try and deal with this. Mangonels trade so well with other mangonels, provided you micro well. RiuT's got a relic. That's pretty good for him. The little victories that count. Now, how many idle villagers does RiuT have? I ask. Oh, God. Well, he has less, but that's just because he has so few villagers. We're down to 46 pop for RiuT to 73, 72. It's constantly going down, of course. This is one of the few games of AoE I've seen where as players, like, plop down more town centers and get to the castle age, their populations just, like, only go down. However, it looks like the mass conversions here from Tim is going to be what seals the deal. I like that he kept his monks back here, and he made sure that he had like enough of them so he could convert this entire force of Conquistadors at the same time. And by converting them all, then he has his own set of units to go deal with RiuT's mangonels too, and that's fantastic. It's to 2-for-1 all of RiuT's army and clear this out and barely save his own base down to 1 TC with enough idle villagers. Wow, that's 28 idle villagers, guys. But it was worth it in the end. The goal, it's just to not lose, not to win in this case, and Tim played that fantastically, and so did RiuT. But the tower rush definitely caught RiuT by surprise here. He expected to see galleys, but no, there were no galleys here at all from Tim. Tim just went, and he decided to just go break the meta with 1 transport ship, 2 transport ships full of villagers at a time, and that tower rush did so very much damage. Yeah, I really like the fire ship decision too. Like, I really can't stress this enough. Like, clearing out those fishing ships for RiuT is like devastating, because that's like most of his food income at this point, right? He can't really farm with all these conquistadors here. He needs the food to make his own conquistadors. His economy is just basically completely dead. And while he can go chop some wood, if he can't build any fishing ships with them, then he doesn't get any food either, and that really sucks. Whereas there was some farming going on here from Tim. It's really hard, like, once you you know, like decide to go for a galley rush, like transition into farms, because you spend so much wood on those docks, so much wood on the galleys that you like need that wood that you would otherwise spend on farms for all of those ships. And that's why the fishing ships really come into play here, and you can get punished when you have a small navy and a bunch of fishing ships by those fire ships, paying dividends here. And look at this tower rush, guys. Actually, extremely effective. So I really hope that you all enjoyed this one, as I've been waiting to show you guys. I've been really excited to show off a game in which, well, there could be something other than a galley rush in water. There aren't too many games out there like this that are good, but I did actually manage to find one, of course, thanks to Cision and the rest of the AOC Vox team. This one is golden. A true hardcore tower rush. No galleys here. Alright, let's go check out the achievements, guys. You can see that this game was actually pretty neck and neck, and I think it's crazy that Tim managed to have a larger army in the end, and the monks definitely got a lot of value there. I like that he kept them back. He didn't go send them in one at a time, so you convert the entire army at the same time. That made a pretty big difference, and the food collected difference as well. We can see losing all those fishing ships kind of sucks. Again, both players were able to gather a lot of wood, but he couldn't convert that wood to food as well as Tim could because he lost all of those fishing ships to the fire ships. Getting to the castle age quicker from RiuT was nice, but he didn't get there like fast enough. He only got there like a minute and like 20 seconds faster than Tim did, and if he got there a little bit sooner, he might have been able to press that advantage. I like the decision on his part to try and forward Tim too, because when you're like behind in a situation like this, you have to take a risk, right? You can't just try and like constantly defend this, because what if it fails? Then you lose. So in this case, RiuT had to take a risk and try dropping his own castle there and seeing how that works out. He only got 47 relic gold. That's unfortunate. And in the end, Tim manages to win a 1v1 on the map Islands with 0 galleys. With none. 0 galleys. He used fire ships and watchtowers, which was absolutely fantastic. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, if you could please leave me a like rating, always helps me out quite a bit. I also do read the comments below, even if I don't get a chance to respond to each of them individually. If you enjoyed watching this video, I have plenty of other Age of Empires 2 videos on my channel, as well as videos of other games. You can find everything that you need and more in the video description below, as well as links to go watch extra episodes of Break the Meta. I also have a link to watch my Twitch TV livestream, where I would love to have you. I do stream weekly, and if you head on over to my Twitch page and you scroll down underneath the video player, you can find my live streaming schedule, and that way you don't have to miss a stream ever. As always, guys, it's great to have you. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I had a blast, and I look forward to bringing you guys more awesome Age of Empires 2 content. GG, well played!